Hi everyone, it's Bren here and welcome to this week's garden update. It is Friday the 22nd of October 2021 and we are in mid-spring here in New South Wales, Australia. My cottage garden is really starting to take off. I've got so much to show you, so let's get into it now. I've stood here in this very spot many times this week just to soak up all of the beauty. A lot of the Sweepy buds have opened up and I just can't pass this entryway without giving them a little sniff. I have to say, I think I got my seeds mixed up somewhere along the line because all of these Sweepy plants growing on both sides of this archway are supposed to have a mixture of different coloured flowers, but as you can see they're all this bi-coloured pink and purple. I just picked a little posy of these fragrant blooms. Now, don't quote me on this, but I believe these ones are called Sweepy Original, and we can thank Dr. Keith Hammett, who is a world-renowned plant breeder, for enabling all of us backyard gardeners to be able to grow these beautiful, very old blooms in our garden. They originate from Sicily in Italy. And you know, something I've learned from years of growing sweet peas is that usually the older varieties are the most fragrant. And then often, but I'm not saying always, when you buy some of the newer hybrid varieties, they can have massive flowers, they can be disease resistant, but they don't tend to have that beautiful smell. I am a huge fan of all of these old world flowers like the sweet peas, these beautiful foxgloves, dianthus, hydrangeas, all of those, you know, real old-fashioned flowers. But the thing is, I also am very aware now that I'm not living in Ireland anymore, and here in Australia some of these flowers require quite a lot of water and attention, and they're not exactly perfect for the climate that I live in. So that's why I am consciously trying to embrace more natives into my garden space. Having said all of that, I'm still going to make room for these beautiful nostalgic flowers in my garden. And of course, it goes without saying that native plants are great for local wildlife. Speaking of wildlife, well, she's not quite wildlife, but she can be a bit cheeky sometimes. I can spot Autumn out of the corner of my eye. Let's go and see what she's been up to. Snowflakes with her as well. She's pecking off those flowers that are on the red kale. I think it's red curly leaf kale. She seems to be liking them. Maybe she's actually eating the aphids. Probably heaps of aphids on them too. Don't know, do chickens like aphids? I guess they probably would. It's a bit of protein. I just wanted to do a quick check to see if there are any aphids on these. Not that it matters too much because they've already started to flower. The plant's coming to the end of its life. I don't really get too concerned when I see aphids on plants at this stage. It's more when they're at the baby seedling stage. That's when I get a bit nervous. Actually, over here is a really good example of where the aphids have attacked one of my plants. Do you see there? Covered in them, but I don't really care. It's a good sign that some of the seed pods haven't got any infestation on them. I'm leaving these here to try and save some seeds. Hopefully they'll dry out soon. Oh, where's she gone now? What are you doing in there? What are you doing? What did you find? Autumn! Autumn! Hey! I wish you'd look at me. Autumn! Come here, everyone's looking at you. You gonna say hi? Nah. She couldn't care less. She's too busy eating. There's so much colour in this little spot. I'm particularly liking these calendulas. They're so bright and cheery. I have started to deadhead these flowers. You can see there's a stem there that I had to remove. In very simple terms, deadheading just means removing old spent flowers where the petals are starting to fade or drop off. By removing them, it stops this plant from producing seeds. And once that happens, it pretty much starts to die off within a few weeks. Because it thinks its job is done, it has completed its life cycle from the time where the seeds were sown to this plant producing seeds again for the next generation. But you can see here that this plant isn't ready to go anywhere. It's still so happy producing all of these flower buds. So I'll just keep on cutting these off once they start to look a bit haggard. And then I will have plenty more on the way to enjoy, hopefully, for at least a couple of months. These poppies are just such a joy, but I have to say, once the flower bud opens, the petals only last maybe about 2 or 3 days, and then they just start to drop off. But how beautiful are these dangling little buds. I enjoy looking at them as well as they slowly open up. This one, probably by tomorrow, it will be fully opened. There's a bit of a trail of petals which have fallen off this one, and look at that. I just think the poppy seed heads are just as beautiful as the flowers. Well, maybe not quite as beautiful, but the great thing about these is you can dry them out and use them in flower arrangements. They add a really nice bit of interest, plus the fact that each of them are going to be packed with hundreds of seeds that I can save and keep this lovely cycle going of blooms each spring. The Bottlebrush Rubs, which I planted here along the fence line right beside the chicken coop, are flowering. There's Snowflake. She likes jumping on top of the coop and she'll probably fly off it in a sec. Let's see if she does it. Like, she can fly quite far. Have you ever seen a chicken fly? Oh, that wasn't as good as usual. Sometimes she can fly from here all the way over to where Autumn and Fudge Cake are. Back to these beautiful Australian natives. They're such a tough plant too. They can grow in all different types of soil. Here's a look at one of them when it's just starting to open up. I actually made a bit of a mistake when I planted these here by the fence line, the border of our property. I put them way too close, and now they're either getting squished up against the fence or going over into my neighbour's garden. I should have really planted them about 1 metre out from the boundary line. These went into this spot about 3 years ago, little tiny tube stalks, very small. I'm trying to get better with spacing, visualising plants at their full size when I'm deciding where to dig the hole that they'll be popped into. I'm heading over to the front garden, but there's a couple of things that I just want to quickly show you. I got a few more of these dahlia cages made up, and if you take a look over here, the hippeastrums that were popped in this little location are flowering. I feel very fortunate because I have quite a lot of these bulbs, at least 60, maybe even 100, which are planted near the raised garden bed area. Some of the buds haven't opened up yet. I'm going to wait a little bit longer until more of them open in that spot I just mentioned before I show you, because it's really just so spectacular. Lovely floral display here near the side gate. This, I believe, is a Banksia rose. I have said in previous videos that it is, but you know what? Having looked into it a little bit more, I'm not that confident. Do any of you out there, I know there's a lot of you who are very knowledgeable with gardening, do you recognise this? If you could help me ID it, that would be wonderful. It's jam-packed with bees. They are really loving it at the moment. You see them all, and the buzz here is beautiful. As I keep on walking to the front gate, if anything catches my eye, I'm just going to show you, and I know there's definitely quite a bit to look at. Here, it's one of the apple trees. Look how massive it is. Most of the flowers are gone now, but take a bit of a closer look. Oh, here, up here. Do you see? It's covered in little immature apples. How cute are they? Actually, I just spotted a few bigger ones there. I'll probably thin them out. They look a bit close together. Usually I don't thin my apples. I think that's something I'm actually going to try out this year. See how that goes. Oh look, there's a few apple blossoms hanging in there. Not many. That's about it. Oh, I can see a few more actually up there in the top of the canopy. But I think the flowers are done for the season. which is a good sign in a way because we know there's going to be a lot of fruit to come. Wait until you see what's happening out in the front garden. Just watch closely what happens when I do this. Do you see them? Do you see all those little white spots on the screen? It's not some kind of dust. I have an infestation of whitefly. They tend to kind of be underneath the foliage, so if I turn this around, you might see a few. You can kind of faintly see them. See those little white things? I've had whitefly in my garden before, but not to this extreme. So they are a tiny little insect that loves to suck the sap out of new growth. They can cause plants to weaken, for example, yellowing leaves, which really makes them more susceptible to disease. And as well as this, whitefly have been known to transmit viruses from plant to plant. I just need to figure out how I'm going to deal with this. So their natural predators would be ladybird and lacewing larvae. I'm still waiting on the ladybird numbers to pick up in the garden. I do also have a lot of aphids as well. I have been inspecting them and I haven't seen too many ladybirds, I have to admit, but usually this kind of thing happens. I just need a bit of patience. I could use a natural organic spray like neem oil. That spray will help, the oil will help to kill off the eggs and the nymphs as well. You can also buy this yellow sticky tape. And I'm sure there's other options out there. I just need to probably make a decision quick smart before all of my little baby plants, you know, get super affected by this. I have to fit this in. So you remember last week I showed you these Equilibrias, Granny's Bonnet? Well, I've got another one flowering. It's a purple variety. Actually just went and grabbed the sweet peas just to hold up against these flowers because I'm thinking I might pick a little posy to bring into the kitchen for the weekend. Maybe this pink one would go well with them. I think it would actually. I might do that. I might pick this off. But actually I'll probably have to do that a bit later because it's almost dinner time. I need to get this video finished. Well, we've come to the end of this week's garden update, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again next Friday.